Something I thought when I started my screenwriting journey is that the best writers, and more importantly, the best written scripts, those are the winners. That's the promised land. That's what will allow me to win contests, get an agent, and get the attention of producers so that people will pay me for my writing. But I was wrong. And as a result, I spent many years pursuing the wrong things. And I don't want you to wallow in that quagmire for years like I did, thinking you have to use words like quagmire to be a good writer. So I'm going to quickly expose 3 reasons why the pursuit of being a good writer is not all it's cracked up to be. And then I'm going to tell you the 2 things you absolutely must be doing in your screenplays. And you actually need to do them before you even start writing your screenplay. And the first mistake I made was in thinking that the business of screenwriting is a competition. And it makes sense why I thought this, because at one point, winning a contest practically guaranteed you meetings, possibly representation, and maybe even a sale of that very script. And so I wrestled with the skill of writing better. I took classes, read lots of books, and wrote tons of things, from articles to short stories, from TV to film scripts, whatever I could to practice, because I thought that's what would get me ahead of the competition. But competition is only true in contests, and contest competition is not really true competition. Screenplays are just usually put in buckets. A bunch make the quarterfinals, a smaller bucket the semis, a smaller bucket the finals, and then the winner boils down to the next reason why being a better writer isn't the promised land: preference. Yeah, readers are people. Producers are people. They have good days and bad days just like you and me. They like some scripts and not others. Just because. There's no real reason sometimes, just a gut feeling. Maybe they don't like your script because your main character has the same name as one of their worst bosses. Maybe they like it because it's set in a town where they grew up, or because they had a good day. And what you have to realize is that the reason they prefer your script over someone else's is because of a feeling. And having proper format in and of itself does not really impact the emotions of anyone, unless you do it so poorly that it makes them angry. So being a better writer on its own doesn't matter, because screenwriting isn't a competition, because screenwriting is ultimately a matter of preference, and the biggie, and I'm sorry, this one might hurt a little bit, but you may not yet just be good enough. Now, don't flip out and think you will never get there, or that I'm some mean guy who wants to block you from breaking in. It is, in fact, the opposite. I want you to break in. It's why I have this channel. And new writers do find paid work in Hollywood regularly without being great writers. And I'll get to those 2 reasons why in a second, but we have to speak plain for a moment. Yes, you have to be confident in your abilities as a writer to make it in this business. It's too hard. Too many people will not like your writing, and it's easy to get discouraged. So you need a healthy amount of confidence to know your script is good, and the patience to know that your script just hasn't found the right home yet. But I interact with so many aspiring writers who act entitled and as if they're God's gift to screenwriting and to Hollywood and to the world in general, and once others recognize their genius, they will call all the shots. And I'm sorry, but that's just not true. And even if it were, with that attitude, no one in Hollywood is going to want to work with you anyway. So you must check the ego at the door. So step back and realize that it's okay if you're not the best writer. And the reason it's okay is because being the best writer is not really what matters. Does it help if you're a good writer? Well, absolutely. Of course it does. But it's not the deciding factor that will tip the scales in your favor. And this is the reality you have to internalize. And once you realize this, you can take the weight off, relieve the pressure you're putting on yourself, and just become comfortable with who you are. And side note, being comfortable with who you are as a writer is a key step in finding your unique writing voice and style. So take a breath, it's okay, stop worrying about grammar and format and having a big vocabulary and whatever else you imagine is part of being a good writer, and become a writer who is. Idea and story. These are the 2 things that set you apart from everyone else. If you have a great idea and you have a well-told story, even if you're not the best writer, your script will win over the attention of others all day long. So what do I mean by idea and story? Well, the idea is that your script can be boiled down into a simple and engaging sentence that makes people want to read your script. It's what's known as having a high concept idea. So imagine you're an industry reader for a second. You're the front line. Every script that gets requested from the place where you're working comes across your desk, and you have to read it and write coverage on it. And most of the time, the scripts are honestly just unreadable and convoluted, and you don't even know what's going on, much less how do I summarize this in a paragraph. Forget about a sentence. Then a few scripts are working, they're functional, but they feel cliche or like you've seen that movie before. And so while you might think it's good, it's a pass. And many of you I know get notes like this, like, oh, we love the script, but it's a pass. And it's this reason usually. And then there's one or two scripts that come across your desk and they have a really great premise. You're very excited, but they're executed so poorly that you can barely get through them. And then you find that diamond in the rough. It's a script where the premise is so easy to boil down that you don't even have to write it down. You can just walk over to the producer's office, knock on the door, and say, I've got a script about a bomb on a bus, and if the bus goes below 50 miles an hour, it blows up, and it's morning rush hour in LA. You should read it. And what you have to remember is that Hollywood is a business. A producer knows how to sell that movie. That's a movie that can get made. But that one about the gym teacher in rural Wyoming that you've written, okay, not a chance. And what you must do is you need to be thinking about the idea before you spend all your time writing a screenplay. If you want to make a go of it in Hollywood, you have to start thinking about screenwriting as a business. And no one will pay attention to you until you have an idea that they can get excited about. But back to our Hollywood reader, the idea alone isn't enough. The script has to deliver. And it's not the writing that does it. Again, it will help, but it's not what seals the deal. What seals the deal is the story. You actually have to have one. And the problem is a lot of writers think they have a story, but they don't. And in fact, many aspiring writers, probably you at times, often wonder if your script is even working or not. You've spent all this time on it and you're like, I don't even know if it's working. Is there in fact an actual story here? Because your script can't be about a bus just driving around. There's no story. And a story is about someone, in this case Jack Travern, who wants something badly, the safety of the passengers, who's having trouble getting it because the bomber keeps thwarting their plans at every turn and it's rush hour in LA, and he gets it or he doesn't. Thankfully, the passengers all get off safely before it blows up. And that's the second act. And then the third act is Jack trying to catch the bomber before he gets away. There's a story coupled with the high concept idea. And a script that has both of those is a very rare find. And the thing is, you can solve both of those problems before you start writing your screenplay. Sort out what your idea is, crack the story, and figure out the main moving parts, and then write your script. Those are the skills you need if you want to find success in Hollywood, if you want to be that diamond in the rough. Because there are a lot of screenplays here. But if you want to stand out, you have to have one that is idea and story. And then, if it's well written on top of that, now people are really going to pay attention. But the thing that trips up so many writers is their second act is a wandering, meandering mess with no clear direction. Lots of scenes, but no substance. And part of having a great story means your second act is lean, mean, and focused. And if you want a hack to help you figure out your screenplay's second act, watch this. Thank you for watching. Fun buttons and links below. And when you tell a story, be a screenwriter who is. Tell a story that matters. See you later.